watching In My Opinion, where we discuss current events in layman's terms, because knowledge is power. And you will soon find out that I have an opinion about everything. And today we have a very special guest. We have my high school friend and now world-renowned realtor, Akinremi Akinsanya. Super easy to say. So welcome to In My Opinion.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate you.
Yes, the reason why I had you on this show is because you just have such a wealth of knowledge and you're so smart and you're my realtor.
A little bit.
No. I'm going to let you toot your own horn. So if you could just give the people a little background on who you are and your award winning and your sales, if you don't mind sharing that, because you are legit underrated.
You know what? When you enjoy what you do, it doesn't feel like you're working. So I think that saying is really, really true. I am a real estate agent. I've been licensed for 7 years. In 7 years, I've closed about 100 deals, about $35 million in gross sales.
35 million in gross sales.
Yes.
Oh, Redfin loves you.
Yeah, and that's like it's a milestone. I'm not gonna lie. It takes a lot of work, mental fortitude just to help people. Majority of folks that I work with are first-time homebuyers, and they face a lot of obstacles. So to be able to help people, actualize that goal of home ownership is very, very exciting. It does get a little overwhelming, but when you get to the finish line and you get them to get the keys in their hands, and then 2 months later they invite you over for lunch or dinner, and you see what they've done with the home, it's just like, wow, it was worth it.
You become a part of their family.
Literally, I have people that fed me, cultural food, that prayed for me,
You're very consistent, you are reliable, and then furthermore, you make me feel very comfortable because I'm A-type. And when you told me you were a Virgo, what did I say? I said hired. I recently did a video on the importance of home ownership, and I was inspired by the magnitude of wealth it can create for our community because of you. I had an idea, property management and developing, it runs in my family, but you again broke it down in such a way that I'm just so motivated to go through with the process. From your point of view, why is home ownership so important? Because you are the expert. I was just speaking on my opinion.
Leverage. Home ownership is real estate, but we're all in real estate indirectly every day. You go to church, real estate. You go to the bank, real estate. If you go to the airport, that's real estate. You're always going to be a part of somebody's real estate, so why not have ownership in your own? Contrary to what people like to say, oh, you really don't own the house, you have a mortgage is for death sentence, or whatever the case people be saying, is that for me and the clients that I've worked with, we've seen where they've been able to purchase a home, utilizing different strategies that I've shared with them, and they're able to at least save a little bit of money on their monthly mortgage. So as you may know, in the Prince George's County market right now, rents are high.
Very high.
So the number one thing that home ownership allows you to do is to pay a little bit less for where you need to live.
$1 million question that everybody wants to know: what does your credit score have to be to buy a house? I
like for my clients' credit score to be at least in the mid sixes. So between a 640, so mid sixes or 680.
Okay.
Technically, you can buy a house with a 580, but with a 585. Yes, I have lenders that can get you approved with a 580 credit score. FHA or VA, the minimum is 580. But even now with COVID, they like to see you have at least a 620 or a 640. So the credit score does matter, but also the history of your credit matters. Do you have any delinquent bills? Do you have a lot of open credit cards with high balances? Do you owe people money? And do you have stuff in collections? All that is looked at. Even the age of your credit as well is all looked at. So there's really a lot of things that play into that, not just the score itself.
Okay, so if somebody were to come to you interested in you being their realtor and their credit score was a 550 or it was low, what would you advise them to do moving forward? Like as far as credit repair goes, should they hire a credit repair person, or what would your advice be on raising that credit score? Because people who with low credit scores still deserve to be able to buy a home because people's situations are just different.
Exactly. So that, I mean, I agree. The first thing first, I don't really like advising people to hire a credit repair company because there's things they can do themselves to get their score up. But the first thing I tell them is like, hey, we got to change your relationship with money. Okay, we gotta either figure out a way to have a side hustle to be able to make more money, because usually when people have low credit it's because lack of income.
Right.
So normally I'd like to get a feel of like what people's income is, and if they're making the money but they're not paying their bills, then we got to reconfigure some things and kind of like see where they can save money to pay down those credit cards. Because some people have credit, it's just that they have high utilization. Someone who may have low credit, another thing that really weighs on your credit is late payments. Payment history is about 30% of your credit profile. So if you miss one payment, that can drop your score 50 to 80 points.
Wow, okay.
So, I ask certain probing questions just to see where the person is. Like, how many credit cards do you have? You want to have a mixture of credit accounts on your credit profile. Mm-hmm. You also don't want to have high balances on your credit cards. And then you also want to have a good amount of aging on your credit, meaning that you have accounts that are at least 12 months plus, on your credit, where you are the primary account holder. So there's really a lot of, nuances in credit. And usually the first thing is what I do is I give people this free consultation, like, hey, this is what you need to do. And I try to stay on them just to kind of keep them motivated. And it's worked. People have listened and their score have increased.
I listened.
Well, yours went up like 200 points? No, not 200, but like what, 50 points?
Maybe not 200, but it went up like, say, around 120. Since I've been working with you, it's gone up 120.
See, so, and you didn't have to hire nobody, you didn't have to pay nobody, because when you have a 550 credit score, and then I tell you to go hire a credit repair person, you're not going to do it because it's that you don't have that good relationship with your money.
Right.
A credit repair person is going to charge you $100 a month.
Yeah.
Or they're going to charge you $1,500. Yeah, or $1,500. Like the game that I give people, if you have $300, you can go out and change your life, basically. So I don't like telling people to spend money first. Mm-hmm. I try to find free strategies that I've used for myself and other people to get them out of that rut. And then even with that, I try to see, if they're not making enough money, I try to give them tips on how to like make more money.
Okay. So you really wear more than one hat. That's why I said you're underrated, because there's not many realtors that are able to do all of that.
Yeah, I know. I mean, and you know why? It's just a passion, because I remember going into a RE/MAX office in Laurel a few years ago, and I was interested in buying a house. And the way the white agent looked at me up and down and kind of like shunned me off, well, it made me feel some type of way. So I remember that when I got out my rut and I was in a position where I could buy a house, and my credit went from a 550 to a 700. I told myself that it's something I was going to just sow seeds into people. Like, this is my ministry. I feel like this is how I'm able to help other people get out their situation, or just see the light at the end of the tunnel. So I know that, like, I was talking to my barber today, and he was telling me that Navy Federal has an $80,000 max line of credit. If you've been looking at Baltimore's market, up the street, you can buy houses for $20,000-$30,000.
Really?
Use that card to fix it up for $30,000, and then the house might be worth $110,000.
You just dropped a gem, like.
Yeah.
I had no idea. What does the home buying process look like?
I mean, one, you got to figure out what's your motivation. Why do you want to buy a house? Not everybody wants to buy a house and use it as an investment vehicle.
Right.
Everybody wants that, that American dream with that nice house with the picket fence.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, what's your motivation? Because if I understand your motivation, or if we understand your motivation, that will keep us on track.
Yeah.
Two, what are you looking for? What type of house are you looking for? You need to identify, do you want a townhouse, a condo? Do you want a backyard? What are the amenities that you want? Once we narrow those two down, then now we can start talking about the process. First process is to look at your credit. You know, what is your FICO score? 2, what is your income? 3, assets. You know, do you have money in your savings, in your 401k? What money are you going to use to close on this home? Or are you going to get a gift from a family? Once we decide those things, you have to link you over the lender. The lender will be the person who's going to pull your credit. Once the lender pulls your credit, they'll let you know, like, based off your income and your, you know, the amount of debts that you have on your credit profile, hey, this is what you can, you know, qualify for. Let's say $300,000. And when we find a specific home that you like, what I do is evaluate that home. I look at the roof, I look at the windows, I look at the AC unit while we're touring the home, and I'd be like, all right, you know, this home is something that looks solid. It's not too old, or it's old. You know, it's something that, you know, we just want to try and negotiate the price a little bit. Once we find that home and we're under contract after negotiating, the next steps will be inspections, and then your lender will basically order your appraisal to make sure that the price that you offered is what the market is calling for. So
it's not that hard at all.
It's not, but
the way you put it, like, it's a few steps, but I feel like with little hand holding from you, like, it's not as scary as it seems.
No, but that's just like more of like the easy, you know, 2-minute pitch, just so people have a basic understanding.
Why do you think that people are so fearful of the home buying process? Because working in property management for so many years, there were a lot of different people who had been in the apartment building, some 10 years, some 20. I had one woman was there for 50 years. She's been in her apartment home. So what do you think people are so afraid of when it comes to home buying? What is the fear?
Man, it's a lot of things. It can be mindset.
Yeah.
It can be lack of knowledge. It can be, you know, people just, you know, I don't want to say they're immune to mediocrity, but like, some people are just not, they're just not motivated to, you know, to buy, because they feel like, hey, I live in this leased unit. If something breaks, I can call the landlord.
Maintenance.
This is like being comfortable. Primarily, it's the unknown, or the miseducation. Like, people are not really fully educated. You know, they think that, oh, if you have to go to a financial institution that's actually not been so great to a certain group of people throughout the history of this world. You know, a lot of people don't trust banks. Or they don't trust, you know, they don't trust realtors, because realtors have been seen as just salespeople who don't care. But I think majority of people, besides, you know, the common thing of like having bad credit and not enough income, a lot of people just don't know.
A huge question that I wanted to get clarity on, because I'm always talking about how we as people of color need to create generational wealth, something that, you know, the majority, they've been doing for years. How does home ownership generate generational wealth?
That's a question that a lot of people ask. But, you know, one, you're buying a tangible asset, you know, for one price today, that in a few months and in a few years will raise in value without you doing anything.
Without you doing anything?
Yes, like literally, you know, so even the interest that you're paying is tax deductible.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So that's a write-off. Any repairs that you make to the house, a percentage of that is a write-off. So now you have a tax like loophole just by owning a home. So any ways you can save money and put money into your own pocket, it's going to make you a little bit more wealthy. And 2, your home is going to appreciate in value. That same home that you bought for $600,000 in the next 5 to 10 years is going to be worth $700, $750.
Yeah.
But in 10 years, you might have a valuation of $750, but because you've been paying down on the principal as a responsible homeowner, that home that you paid $600,000 for, now you have only $450 on the note. So it's like you're forced to save your money.
So how does that benefit our children?
So the way it benefits our children is because if anything happens, now your children or your children's children has that equity, that $350,000, you know, whatever the number is, as money, as a head start to basically sow into another investment, basically. Or even you as a parent, you can always leverage that money as a seed, a starting seed for their college education.
Oh, wow.
You can,
Of course, which is so important.
you can pull money out. You can do a HELOC again to start a business. So even though you have 30 years on that mortgage, let's say in 10 years you pay down 250 and your home has gone up like 150,000. Now you can take that $400,000 in equity. You can take 75 to 80% of that as a line of credit or as cash and use it to start a business. Use it to pay for college. Use it to buy a commercial unit that's going to give you a couple $1,000s a month in income. It's leverage again. Everything is leverage. So imagine not buying a home, just renting. You can't go to your landlord and be like, hey, I want the last 10 years of my rent payments back.
No, you cannot.
You're not gonna get it. And people are probably thinking like, oh, has he done it for himself? I'm like, yes, I have.
Yeah.
I recently purchased a condo for $84,000. It was only by the grace of God I found that condo. It was only by the grace of God I was able to close on it because, again, I was working on my credit. But I still got approved and got into the loan using a special program again. Now this same condo is worth close to $200,000.
Wow.
So right now I have close to 6 figures in equity, and this year I'm going to sell that condo and go buy a 4 or 5 unit apartment building. It's going to give me residual income. So
I love
just imagine that play that I made. That one buy can change your whole entire life. That one home that you buy can change your entire life.
It's yours.
The kitchen. Yeah, I renovated the kitchen. I renovated the bathroom. I learned a little bit about, just how to, pick up a screwdriver and make things happen. And because of that, it's going to pay dividends. And now my offsprings and their offsprings, if I make the next move is right, they'll be able to eat off that. So just imagine how just having a little bit of income, a little bit of credit, it's been beautiful to me. I bought this in 2019, and then in November of 2019, then November of 2021, I can sell this property and make over $100,000.
Wow, respect the game.
So,
okay.
Yeah. So how think about how many people are in our age range that have 100,000 that they can play with.
Not many, but they could be if they played the game right, because that's really all it is. It's a hustle. It's playing smart. It's just, hustling is not necessarily just on the street. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Of course you want to pay yourself. You want to enjoy the finer things, but you have to sacrifice a little bit, to really, really build some type of, wealth for yourself and your family. It's worth it.
For the greater good.
For the greater good, yeah.
If you owe student loans, what does that look like? How do you buy a home if you owe student loans? Because I think that's another fear that people have is, I owe all these loans, I'm going to get denied. I just know it. But is that necessarily true, or?
It's not true. Just as long as, so let's say that the amount of student loans you have, let's say you have $50,000 in student loans and you have $50,000 salary. You can still buy a house. But if you have a $50,000 salary and then you also have $50,000 student loans and a $20,000 car, we can still get you pre-approved, but it's probably going to be tough. But there's different strategies. Let's say that, your student loan balance is $55,000. Doing the income-driven repayment plan will definitely lower the amount that you pay monthly and will help you get approved. That's good for FHA, Federal Housing Administration loans, because you have 3 types of loans. You have VA, which is for veterans. You have conventional, which is historically you have to put 20%. And you have FHA, which is backed by the Federal Housing Administration. And that requires you to have 580 credit score. And then you only have to put down 3.5%. If you have student loans, FHA is your best program that you can have.
Okay.
Or Maryland has a good program where that if you have $40,000 in student loans, there's something called a Smart Buy 2.0, where you can get your student loans paid off when you purchase your home.
Really?
Yes.
I told you guys, he's gold. I told you guys. He knows everything there is to know about anything. Okay, I love it. That's a gem. What do you say to someone like myself who is thinking about investing in rental properties or any type of property in general? Because as you said, you are gonna buy, you said a 4-unit building or 5-unit building, you said.
Mm-hmm.
What would your advice be to somebody who's thinking about tapping into that market?
Man, so one, you just want to make sure that you have stable income, consistent income.
Okay.
You're able to take care of your bare minimum, to live, food, water, whatever you need. Then once those needs are met and you can save money, now you want to start thinking of your credit. Okay, how am I going to get my credit to 640 or 680 to where it needs to be, so I can qualify for a mortgage? Once you have your financial picture and, in good standing, then now you can start looking at your local market. You don't have to go too far. You can go into your backyard. You can go to Redfin.com, homesnap.com, Zillow.com, or you can even watch videos on YouTube on real estate investing. You want to really learn how to analyze the deal. You want to figure out what rents are in your area, what homes are selling for, what the mortgage is going to be, and what you can rent that property out for. Because if the mortgage is $1,300, but you can rent the house, the condo unit or house or whatever for $1,700, that's a $400, gap. You can definitely buy something like that as your first home, live in it for 6 months to a year, and then move up. You can always buy another one, using another loan product. Just as long as your second house is bigger than the first one. So you can technically buy your first house. It might be a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, or your mortgage is $800, but you might be able to rent it out for $1,300, $1,400, and then the $500 that you're making, you can apply it to your new mortgage. So you can kind of just use your profile to be your investor and kind of like just buy properties that you don't want to live in long term. Just live in short term,
right?
And then put down a minimum amount of money, because for an investment property, you got to put down 20% of the value of that property, or you got to have cash. So why not utilize yourself as a guinea pig, to build a little bit of wealth.
No. If you have say a group of friends who want to just purchase a property, that's probably the smartest thing to do, because I know everybody is not great at managing their money, but if you kind of get into it with your group of friends or family members, that's beneficial as well, and that's a quicker way to get the property, right?
Because you can have, on a loan application, you can have multiple borrowers. You can have 1, 2, 3, 4 borrowers if you wanted to. So let's say, let's say 4 people make $25,000. They can all combine their income if they meet the credit profile, and they can all come together to buy a house. Again, there's different strategies. A lot of people have done some crazy things to buy houses, legal crazy things.
Legal three, but it's worth it though.
Oh, trust me, it is. It definitely is.
How much money are they going to be looking to spend?
You're trying to buy a house for $250,000. You want to have at least 3% saved, or rule of thumb is the magic number is 10,000.
That's the magic number.
Yeah, you just want to have 10,000 saved up if you want to buy a house under 350,000.
A big conversation right now about the stimulus package is minimum wage. That's what's kind of holding up the approval process. And they're trying to raise it to $15 because, for example, a Walmart worker, they're not even making that, and they're not able to save that money, because they still have to have childcare and other expenses. So I know the answer to this, but what programs if any, are there out there that if I have no way to save $10,000, is it just a lost cause for me, or is there hope out there? Is there other programs that I can be a part of?
Nope, there's NACA. Nah,
I love NACA.
So no, NACA, NACA is a program that it's like no lie. You don't need perfect credit. You don't need too much savings, and it's 100% financing. It does take a while for you to get approved through their program, but they coach you through the process, and they will assist you to qualify to buy a home. They pay all your closing costs. They cover your down payment. I don't know if they pay for your inspection, but they do look at your income and your credit. Just make sure that you're, somewhat, responsible. You gotta be responsible.
Right.
Yeah. They are gonna look at those, those factors. But at the end of the day, you don't need money at all.
Thank you. I'm so happy that you're speaking on that, because hearing it's easier said than done to say, oh yeah, $10,000, but the average person's like $10,000. Where do we get that from?
it's a lot of money. It's a lot of freaking money. I'm not gonna lie, especially for people that work like minimum wage.
Yeah.
But even for people that work minimum wage, like there's a game for that too. Like maybe it's still buy a house, even though you might not make, you know, a good amount of money. Just as long as you have like consistent income,
right,
we can still get you in a home to offset your legacy. In almost every situation, you can buy a house. And there's even strategies where you don't even have to go through the bank to buy a house.
So I did on Instagram say what questions, you know, do people have. So I have a couple Instagram questions as well.
Nice.
One question was, if I have an overage on my loan from a house that I want to rehab, can I keep the difference? For example, if I get approved for a $300,000 loan and the house is, I'm buying my grandma's house for $150,000, and I rehab the house and I still have, say, 100,000 over and I only spent 50,000 on rehab, can I keep that? Or
no,
like
no,
what?
No.
Okay.
If you try to, it's a felony.
It's a felony?
You go to jail. You go to jail.
They got enough of us locked up, so.
I understand that question. It's an innocent question, but
yeah,
you can't.
Okay, so this question's for me. What are your thoughts on the Biden-Harris homebuyer tax credit that when they were campaigning, they talked about it. It is doable because Obama and Bush, they had a homebuyer tax credit. Mm-hmm. So what are your thoughts on, I think it's $15,000, there's up to $15,000 they said that they will be willing to give. And I mean,
I'm jealous.
Because, I mean, I believe him, because one thing Biden said, and he bangs on that podium, and that's my favorite part, he said, the African-American people have my back, and I'm going to have theirs, because we are realistically the lower income people who would benefit from that loan. So what are your thoughts on them saying that they're going to give that to us?
Man, I think it's gonna change a lot of lives.
Yeah.
It's gonna make the dream of home ownership a reality for many.
Thank God.
It's crazy. I feel like it's gonna give a lot of people opportunity to get out their writ.
Yeah.
A lot of people that have never thought that they could be in a positive financial setting. Right. Yeah. It's gonna help a lot of people.
Life changing.
One, it's gonna be life changing. It's gonna help the economy.
Yeah.
Because now buyers are going to be able to use that program, and then state programs like NACA. Just imagine, like, all the money that's available, including another $15,000 from the federal government to buy a house for first-time home buyer.
It's going to change the game.
And they may prioritize minorities.
Yeah.
So you're telling me I don't have to dip into my savings? I don't have to dip into my 401k? Or if I
don't have to have a savings. I mean, it's good to have one, but I mean, if I can't, then this is another opportunity to level the playing field.
It's gonna be a game changer. It's gonna that wealth gap that we have is gonna shorten a little bit.
Yes. And that's what it's about.
But then again, when you look at some of our communities, it's just we're a detriment. So I really hope even as a realtor, I hope that passes. It pushes through, because it will help me as well, help other clients. Even though I'm a little bit jealous.
No, you'll benefit from it, but it's like I said in my last video, we gotta buy up the block. Like, we want safer neighborhoods. We want our children to have access to better schools and resources. Yeah. Buy up that neighborhood. Buy up that place that you love so much, that you came from. This is our opportunity to do it and make it happen. And even though we got the short end of the stick, this is our opportunity to make it right. I
agree. It's really crazy, man. $15,000 for first-time home buyers. Can you imagine?
Yes, I can. Been dreaming about it. That's why I was like on Instagram, like, vote, Biden, Harris, and like going crazy. It wasn't just because, like, for no reason. Like, there's so many benefits that we're about to be able to take advantage of. He's already signing executive orders left and right, and he's made it very clear that he wants to help the lower income people, because that's who
primarily. Yeah, because even with the housing history, there was a time back in the day when African Americans poor white Americans, Hispanics, they couldn't buy houses. Even if you were African American and you were a veteran and you just came back from, World War I or World War II, you couldn't buy a house.
Are you referring to redlining?
Redlining, yes. You could not buy a house. The federal HUD, the Federal Housing Administration, they had certain laws that wouldn't allow African Americans to buy properties, or demographics or areas that were heavily populated with low to moderate income individuals. They couldn't. Banks couldn't lend in those areas. So let's say that you were a developer. Are you going to build a house if you can't sell it? No.
No.
So what did the federal government do? They started creating projects in different urban cities, and that's why you got ghettos and hoods. And even the word get, like our people we're making a huge progress.
Yes, we are.
We just got to make the right choices to kind of like continue to make progression.
I agree.
It's really tough, but we got to have these conversations. It could be done. Yeah.
Those before us, they did it. If they can get bit by dogs and if they can be enslaved, then we can do this. It can be done.
And that's just one or two things. We got thousands of things that I believe our people have faced. And I know me, I can't even walk a mile. So I'm lazy.
Absolutely. So another thing that I noticed when I was working in property management, which honestly striked my interest in criminal reform, is that it would break my heart when people would come in and they would tell me, I'm not even going to apply for this place because I already know I'm not going to get approved because I have a record. And sometimes they got approved anyway. It was just that self-doubt because, normally they can't get approved. They can't get those things. So can you buy a home if you have a criminal record?
Yes, you can. Just as long you haven't done any type of financial institution type of fraud, tax fraud, like all those, anything check fraud, your financial credit, everything has to be clean.
Okay.
Even if you robbed the bank, no. I said, even if you sold drugs like 10 years ago, you should still be fine. I mean, if you robbed somebody, like armed robbery, I don't think that's something that should stop you from owning a home at all.
Okay. Well, that's good. Their past is not being held against them in every way of life. Like, so if you have a family member that's locked up, save that person $10,000. Put a little money aside every month so when they come home, they can buy their own home and they don't have to have the man tell them, no, you won't be approved.
Yes. All they need is credit. They can build credit up and start a business.
Yep.
Passively. And then after 2 years, they can use that income from that business to qualify for a mortgage.
It's possible.
Even if it's barbershop, trucking, whatever it is, you need capital. Yeah, why not just work on, if that guy's been, or even while your homie or whoever, your boyfriend, your husband is in jail, start working on his credit.
Right.
Open trade lines in his name. So
right. That's a real one.
You come out, have $40,000, $50,000 in credit cards. So what are you going to do? Run it up and start a business so you don't have to go back.
Yep, and you can't be told, no, we can't hire you.
You become your own boss.
You become your own boss. Genius. I love it. As Remy, why is it important to you that we as Black people and people of color purchase our own home?
We're way, way behind the 8 ball. We're way, way behind the 8 ball when it just comes to the literacy of finances. Mm-hmm. And I think when you do go through the process of buying a home, you become financial cognitive of just money in general. And I think just buying a car, I think kind of creates some level of, knowledge, or even the fact that, we're able to leverage and use home ownership to build some type of wealth, I think is number one for me.
Yeah.
That one right move can change your whole lineage for a few generations. But it's just a matter of just building wealth for me, man. That's number one. And just having leverage, to be able to, in the near future, to start a business, pay for college, or at some point in your life, just to have to be able to pay rent. You know, that living
Rent
expense
and
is
late fees
30%.
and court costs.
Man, look, it's 30% of your income. You want to
Yeah.
keep, so if you make 100,000, 30,000 is supposed to go towards housing.
Why?
Management companies really care. They're like, yeah, you got to make 3 times the amount of rent, but if it's like, you know, if it's $2,000 and you're making $4,000, hey, we'll take 50% of your income.
Yeah, I mean, look at them like evicting people during a pandemic. The ones that can, like, they're doing it. Like you said, they don't really care. And when you're paying rent, that money is going to a man that has a house in Bali, okay, living good off of you. Thank you so much, Remy, for doing this. I know that you are a busy man.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate this dialogue, and I hope that whoever listens in and you know takes heed to the advice and at least starts thinking about the process.
Yes, that was what this is about, to have people who are maybe thinking about the process, go for it, for all of the 1,000 reasons that you just named, all the gems that you just dropped. You are on TikTok, you are on Instagram. If people want to follow you or contact you or just get your knowledge that you always constantly give, what is your TikTok information and what is your Instagram information? So that, because you're blowing up on TikTok, let me just say.
A little bit. A little bit. I mean, it's Remy sells DMV homes. That's just my tag on Instagram and TikTok. And I'm gonna put a little bit more information just out there, just so people can not just see the houses, but also how and steps to like acquire those homes as well that I'm showing.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, again, thank you, Remy. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Please remember to wear your mask. And remember, the world is small. Do not let little walls cage you in. Again, thank you, Remy, and you guys have a good evening.